November is just around the corner, and that means the 16th Annual National Podcast Post Month is fast approaching. Hi, I'm Jennifer Navarrete, founder of NaPodPomo, and I'm inviting you to join the 30-day Global Podcasting Challenge. Whether you're a newbie looking to start your first podcast or a seasoned pro seeking inspiration, NaPodPomo is the perfect place to experiment and try new things. Visit napodpomo.org to learn more. See where podcasting can take you this November during National Podcast Post Month.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously I struggled with joy, and there's a lot of teaching in the church about choosing joy. There's a books called Choose Joy. There's plaques with Choose Joy. There's journals with say Choose Joy. And that's an actual a choice of going, right, I'm going to, be positive. I'm going to think positive. I'm going to count my blessings. I'm going to live in gratitude. And that's one side of it. But the other side of it is that gift of joy, that thing that is poured out on you. And what I've realized is that joy is not just taught, but it's actually imparted. And, in the New Testament, there's a lot of in Acts that the disciples actually go and lay hands on people and say, have you heard about the Holy Spirit and have you received the Holy Spirit? So when I've been speaking and people are struggling with joy and struggling with grief, I will lay hands on them and I'll pray for them and ask Holy Spirit to fill them and wash their ashes away and to because it's not, when we think that joy is a choice, then we're really doing it in our own strength rather than in the strength of the Lord. And there's scriptures that say the joy of the Lord is your strength. And so it is His joy, and that He can fill us with His joy.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. I have an amazing guest with me. We're going to be talking about her book. She's an author, a speaker, and she has got joy out all over the place. She just carries joy around with her everywhere she goes. Kyllie Martin's with us today. Kyllie, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. So glad to have you here. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good to be here, Dave.
Awesome. I'm so thrilled to have you on. And if someone's listening and they're like, wait a minute, I think Kyllie has a little bit of an accent. I know in Canada, we have no accent at all. All right. We have none. I'm joking. Kyllie, let everybody know where that beautiful accent comes from.
I'm a Kiwi. I'm over in New Zealand. So I have, apparently, I think last year they said we had the sexiest accent in the world. So I'll take that.
There you go. I love it. The sexiest accent. I guess Canadians don't. I guess we lost. Oh, well.
Yeah, you lost. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's the flavor of the month.
There you go. Awesome. Tell us about New Zealand. Like, I'm so curious. I've never been there. Tell me more. I need to know more about this beautiful country.
Yeah. New Zealand is so beautiful. I have actually just spent the last 3 years living in California, and I just returned to New Zealand 2 months ago. And it wasn't until I left the country that I realized just how beautiful it was. We're so coastal. We've got lakes, we've got rivers, we've got mountains. That's why we're always in the movies, is because we have every, different environment and only a few hours away from each other. But we're a down to earth kind of group of people who just, have a good work ethic and just welcome people. So it's really great to be back, and we've got really good coffee and great food. So I'm enjoying those things back here.
Okay, I love coffee, so that's a good thing. I might have to put that on my list. Kyllie, tell us a little bit about your author journey. Go back in time before you were an author. What was it for you? Were you an avid reader? Were you always curious about being an author? What sparked the idea to become an author?
Well, Dave, I'm not a reader or a writer, an author at all. I'm quite opposite to that. growing up at school, English was my worst subject. I was terrible at grammar, and I never really had it in mind to write a book. But I'm passionate about speaking, and so for probably the last 10 years, I've been writing for speaking, but not to write a book. But I just went on this journey, and then I'm a Christian, and God told me to write a book, so I just followed what He asked me to do.
Well, there you go. That's being obedient right there.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your speaking as well. Where do you speak? What do you speak on?
Yeah, I'm a Christian speaker, and so I speak within my church. Just in a small church here in Whanganui on the North Island of New Zealand, and I just have spoken at women's events, and I used to help run a non-profit here. We ran self-esteem courses in our community, so I did a lot of the speaking and facilitation for that. So. And then I was a physical therapist for 20 years. So I did a lot of education, a lot of teaching in that role as well.
Wow. So one of the things I noticed when I go through your website, Kyllie, is just this overwhelming sense of joy is important to you and your message. Can you tell me why joy is important? And can you define joy? Is that even possible? Can you tell us what it is?
Yeah, I can tell you what it is. And that was a question that I had in my mind as well. And really joy is important to me because my husband and I, we had a real difficult, probably almost 20 years when we got engaged. My dad had a short battle with cancer and passed away. And then we had different health concerns, both of my husband and I, and he was off work for 4 years and had 3 surgeries and lived in chronic pain. And so we had a lot of grief, a lot of pain, a lot of disappointment. We had infertility. And so joy was something that was lacking in my life. And it wasn't until we changed environments and we moved to California that I saw in the church a different level of joy that I hadn't seen before. And it sparked this hunger in me, and it opened my eyes to the possibility of how much joy is available in the Lord. And I just wanted to learn how to get it, how to access, how to maintain it in my life and give it away like these people I was seeing.
That's interesting because I think a lot of times when people do find something that brings them joy, they keep it to themselves. Mm-hmm. They don't want to lose it or give it away. I finally found joy in my life, whatever that is, and they just kind of hold on to it with both hands. It seems like you're more about giving the joy that you find. Is that how you're looking at it?
Yeah, well, I think that when you give it away, it actually increases in you. And so mine's very much a spiritual kind of joy through the Holy Spirit, and just having been given this gift of joy that I can then give away and encourage in others.
Amazing. Can you talk a little bit about who you're targeting when you do your speaking engagements, when you're writing your book? Who do you have in mind as your target audience, your avatar we talk about? Who is that person that you're writing or speaking to? Who are you trying to help?
Well, when I started this journey, I was really just trying to find out for myself. And I had wished that, 20 years ago that someone had told me about this overflowing, abundant joy that you could have in the Lord through the Holy Spirit. And no one really talked to me and said, this is available even amongst the circumstances, this overflowing joy. So when I started, it was really for myself and writing for myself. And then I had a dream, and the Lord showed me people who were locked up and imprisoned by grief. And he said, joy is the thing that's going to unlock them. And within my dream, I saw people that I knew and realized that they were being bound by grief. And so as I started writing, and it was, something that I wasn't very skilled at, wasn't didn't come naturally to me, so I had to work at it and put effort into it. But when I did that, I thought of these people that I saw in my dream, and several of them were people close to me. And so every time I struggled, I just pictured them imprisoned, and that I needed to write this book and have this message so that they could be unlocked.
Amazing. So tell us the name of the book and tell us more about what you've written.
Oh, it's called Unlimited Joy, Accessing All That Is Promised. And so for me, I'm a really practical person. I'm a physical therapist, and so everything has to be practical, and you've got to be able to put it into practice. And so a big part of my book is making each chapter practical. And so at the end of each chapter is an activation, and it's how to put into practice what the contents of the chapter, so that you can actually access this joy that I speak about. And what was the question, Dave?
No, it's good. Just, reach the idea behind it. And I like the fact that it's practical. Can you give us an idea, like, are you giving us like an action item to do or something to think about? What is the action you're asking us to do in the chapters?
Yeah, so each chapter is a little bit different. Early on in the book, it's about what is our understanding of joy, what is maybe the lies, identifying the lies that we've believed, identifying our belief and when we can have joy, when is it available, how accessible is it. And so initially a lot of it is thinking, and then later on it's more activity. So one of the chapters is on the art of lamenting. So it's a process of working through your grief. So I actually give you an activity of where you write and you speak and kind of pray to the Lord about your grief and let it all out, and then ask for him to speak into it. So then journaling what he says. And so each chapter's a little different depending on the topic.
So this book would be good then for someone who is dealing with grief then, right? It's not just focused on joy, but you're focusing also on grief and helping people through those stages. So that's an interesting side too that we haven't really thought to talk about, was just people battling with grief, and how if there's no one in your life or no resources like your book to help you with your grief, you kind of just seem to be so alone in those feelings. How do we get out of that loneliness and grief and get to a place of joy in our life? Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah. Well, the Bible talks a lot about that we'll receive beauty for our ashes and joy for our mourning, and praise where we've had a spirit of heaviness. And it's all connected in with the Holy Spirit. When Jesus, in the Bible, it talks about Jesus saying that he was going to send a helper, and that is the Holy Spirit. And so there's a verse in the Amplified Version where it talks about the Holy Spirit, that he's your comforter, your counselor, your advocate, your standby, your teacher. And so it's really accessing joy with the Holy Spirit. And so, if there's any listeners out there who are joyless, who feel hopeless, who just feel lost and feel lonely, I'd encourage you, even if you're not religious, just speak to God. He's there. His presence is around us all of the time. And you might just think you're making it up, but probably the feelings, as you connect with God, if you connect with the Holy Spirit, I'm sure that's him who's responding to you. And it says that he'll pour his joy out on you. It says that he'll wrap you in joy. And it's a gift. It says that he will give you a crown of joy. So I think that's, it's just beautiful.
It's amazing. And the one thing I notice when we'll talk with people and deal with people, you can tell when somebody has joy in their life, and you can tell when there's an absence of joy in someone's life. How they carry themselves, how they speak, everything about their whole countenance and about them as a person. You can just kind of tell when they walk in the room, this person is living a life of joy and this person is struggling in that area. Do you see that when you're up speaking and talking with people and sharing your book? Do you see people struggling with joy? And if you do, how do you reach out to that person?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously I struggled with joy, and there's a lot of teaching in the church about choosing joy. There's a books called Choose Joy. There's plaques with Choose Joy. There's journals with say Choose Joy, and that's an actual a choice of going right. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to think positive. I'm going to count my blessings. I'm going to live in gratitude. And that's one side of it. But the other side of it is that gift of joy, that thing that is poured out on you. And what I've realized is that joy is not just taught, but it's actually imparted. And, in the New Testament, there's a lot of in Acts that the disciples actually go and lay hands on people and say, have you heard about the Holy Spirit and have you received the Holy Spirit? So when I've been speaking and people are struggling with joy and struggling with grief, I will lay hands on them and I'll pray for them and ask Holy Spirit to fill them and wash their ashes away and to because it's not, when we think that joy is a choice, then we're really doing it in our own strength rather than in the strength of the Lord. And there's scriptures that say the joy of the Lord is your strength. And so it is his joy, and that he can fill us with his joy.
It's good. And I think that's one thing that all of us need, no matter where we're on our journey in life, is some more joy, because I think that would help us in how we interact with each other, how we feel about ourselves. It's going to touch many parts of our lives if we can tap into that joy that we're talking about here. So it's a good one.
Yeah, and Dave, you asked me what was my definition of joy. So I've got one for you. There's I've did a lot of reading in preparation for writing my book, and there's a lot of intellectual kind of descriptions and definitions of joy. But the most basic one that is biblical and connects to even the Hebrew and the Greek words is that joy is inner gladness, inner gladness that changes your countenance. So when you have that inner gladness, and it's a feeling of gladness, it brightens your face. And rejoicing is the verb of the word joy. So it's the action of expressing the joy that you have inside.
It's interesting. We were talking before we had record that recently I became a grandfather, and being in the hospital and going into the room and holding my granddaughter for the very first time, there's overwhelming sense of joy that comes in just in that moment where there's a brand new life. She's only been here on the planet with us for a few hours, and I get to hold her, and that feeling, it just overwhelms you and kind of rushes in. And it's so unique to have that moment and experience that. And I think people listening, even if they don't have a faith journey that we're talking about today, there's moments in your life where joy does creep in and kind of, sometimes it'll knock you right over, and you'll just kind of enjoy that moment. But I think for the most part, we live a life that we don't recognize those joyful moments, and we don't give them space in our day because we're so busy and we're doing all the things, and it's hard to slow down and soak in the joy so that it can change us and give us new perspective. Right.
Yeah.
So for those that maybe aren't on a faith journey like us, Kyllie, what would you say to them? I know we kind of talked a little bit about it, but as they're listening to this, some of this might sound strange or odd to them, and we're using words they're not used to. But for those people listening, how do we tap into this joy that you're talking about? Where did we start?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've realized, I'm not the usual spokesperson for joy. I am an introvert and intellectual, and I'm not the life of the party type person. But what I've realized is that I can get very serious and very focused in everything that I'm doing, and that can make for a not very joyful Kyllie. And so even just last week, I was talking with a friend, and we were just saying kind of how busy we were with lots of things and juggling life as mums and wives and workers. And I was like, oh, we just need to have some fun. and so it was like, right, let's go and do something. And so we organized a group of friends to go and see the Barbie movie, and we dressed up in our bright pink outfits, put on some pink lipstick and nail polish. We went out for a pink drink and then went to see the Barbie movie. And something that has changed for me with this joy thing is that I never used to laugh out loud, but I just allow myself to laugh out really freely in the movie and not really care about if anyone's like, oh, stop laughing so loudly. And, it makes such a difference. And,
Right.
there's studies now that say, that laughter affects the body in such positive ways, and it releases stress and increases all your good hormones and reduces all the stress hormones. So if anyone's out there and just needs some joy in your life, just have a look and say, have I done anything fun this week? And go and play, go and be silly, get some friends together, and just have a good laugh, because that will bring joy to your life.
It's amazing. And I think as we all tap into that and we increase our joy level, it's going to have a big impact on our relationships, everything that we do as parents with our children. They're going to see us happier as parents. Our partners will see us as more fun to be around.
That's right.
Because we get so serious, right, and focused. It's kind of nice when they can see that joy.
That's right. And joy, it's not just a spiritual thing. It is, a word that I would say is we're triune beings. It means that we're body, soul, and spirit. And so things in our body can affect our joy. Things in our soul, like unforgiveness and bitterness, that can affect how much joy we have. And then also there's the spiritual side of joy. So just looking at all those aspects to find greater joy in your life.
It's amazing. What have you learned about yourself, Kyllie, by writing the book? What's come up as you've been writing the pages and you're like, I didn't know this part about me, or I didn't know this part about my story, but now that it's written, I've changed as an author, as a person. What's different about you before you became an author?
I think the thing that I've found is I've realized I can do a whole lot of things that I never thought that I could do. About limiting myself and saying, oh, I'm not a writer, or I'm not very technological. I've had to do lots of social media. I've learned how to do Canva. I've learned how to do podcasts. There's just so many things that I've had to learn to do, and I can, rather than the mindset of I don't know how to do that. And so I'm just realizing, you can teach old dogs new tricks.
I love it. So the other thing we were talking about is just, you were talking about, before we hit record, about there's a part in the process around chapter 4, I think you were talking about, where you kind of got stuck as an author writing your book. And can you talk about getting stuck and then getting unstuck in that process? What happened in that situation?
Yeah. So I had... I'd sort of been researching and thinking about joy and journaling, and then I got to the point of being ready to write, and I laid out 12 chapters, and I started writing and got to chapter 3 or 4, and I just got stuck, and I knew the chapter wasn't right. I didn't know how to progress, and I recognized that I didn't want to just get stuck and leave it, because this message of unlimited joy needed to get out to the world. So I actually found a a mentor who did what she called manuscript mentoring, but mentoring the manuscript, but she actually mentored me as a writer as well. And so I realized that this message was important and that I was willing to invest in it and invest in myself as a writer. And so I would spend an hour a week or every fortnight with her, and she'd look at my writing and she'd tell me, oh, this is where you got stuck. And we recognized that chapter, I'd been leading with story, but that chapter, it was a really important one to me, and I'd led with teaching and I wanted to teach, but she just got me to flip it and change it around. And then she divided the chapter in two. She said there was too much in it. And so then she just helped me with, how to structure my book better. And so that was, can't quite find the words, but it just really helped me get this message out to the world.
It's amazing. How did you find this mentor that helped you?
I connected with another New Zealander on a writing Facebook group, and she was actually an editor. And so I'd approached her, and she's like, oh, no, this is who you need. And so she put me in contact with this woman. But New Zealand is such a small place. I had met this lady once at a women's conference like 3 years earlier, and she was a Facebook friend of mine. So that's New Zealand, and especially in Christian circles, somebody you know will know somebody, somebody else's.
Well, see, I love that. That's amazing. And then we talked a little bit, too, about your advanced reader testimonials that you were talking about. Can you talk a little bit about what this is for non-authors that are listening? We have readers listening to the podcast. What that is and how you kind of use that for your book.
Yeah, so before I published my book, I just put it out to people who were following me on Facebook, and I said, would anyone like to be an advanced reader? So they get given a copy of my book, 6 weeks before it's due out, and then give feedback, and then we encourage them if they like to share an Amazon review, just to help with algorithms and that sort of thing. But but I had a beautiful testimony of one of the ladies. She volunteered to be on the group, and she had actually been struggling with postpartum depression. And she'd had a 9-month-old and had a really traumatic birth, and she'd really been grieving for that 9 months. And she said she had lots of advice from people that she just needed to grieve and move on, but no one told her how to do that. And so she was, when she saw that I was looking for people to read this unlimited joy, she was like, I need joy. So she reached out to me, and I sent her a copy of my book. And in her words were, she said that each chapter of the book were like medicine to her body, and that as she read my stories and my testimonies and my teaching, it was like her body was being healed. And particularly the chapters about grieving and how to process that with the Lord. She ended up, a few weeks later after reading the book, she was in a church service, and she got filled with the Holy Spirit and had laughter and joy, and she got completely healed from the postpartum depression. And she said that this book has changed her life. So it was, she was one of those people who were locked in grief that I'd seen in my dream. And so that, makes it worthwhile, even if it's just one person who has healing and who has found joy in the Lord. That makes the effort and the investment and the time worthwhile.
So what you're telling me, Kyllie, is then dreams do come true.
That's right.
Right? They do come true. That is amazing to know that all of this kind of sparked from a vision and a dream of people trapped in their grief, and that they need joy to escape that. And that now you have a name and you have a face of a person who is exactly the target of who you were writing this for and who you speak to. That's amazing that you can now put a name to that avatar, that pretend person you're hoping to reach. Now you actually have a real person you have reached. That's a totally different feeling, right?
It is. And it's just that brings joy to my soul, that's for sure.
Right?
And it drives me to do things like podcasts and to get this book out into e-courses and just get this message out to the world of unlimited joy that can just change you from the inside out.
Okay, so before we get to the end here, I like to do this in all my podcasts, but as far as how to connect with you, Kyllie, and to know more about the book and you, and maybe I'm in New Zealand and I need a great speaker to come and speak at my next event. How do people connect with you?
I thought, Dave, that you were in New Zealand and you wanted to come sleep on my couch.
Oh, I would come and stay there, no problem. You give me some coffee and a tour, I'm there. But how do people connect with you, Kyllie? How do we connect?
So I'm on Facebook and on Instagram, and it's under Kyllie Martin Author. My name Kyllie is a little bit different in spelling. It's Kyllie, so 2 L's. My mum thought Kyllie with 2 L's was more balanced. She didn't like the look of Kyllie, and it's almost like I've been a very balanced person my whole life. It goes with the name, but now I'm a little bit more extroverted. I laugh a bit more. I dance a bit more. I'm a little bit more the life of the party just because of this joy. So yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and then I have my website, kyliemartin.com. So I'm going to be releasing some free webinars in the next couple of months and releasing an e-course. So if people want more of this topic of joy, then follow me. And on a Monday morning, I release a couple of minutes. It's called Joy Burst Monday. So a little joy burst on a Monday morning. So check it out on Facebook.
There you go. Amazing. And then you're going to have updates on your website as well for future things, like if you're going to be speaking or any of that, we can follow you along on your website as well.
Yeah, you can.
Good. Excellent. So, okay, Kyllie, one last question here at the end. For podcasters, that's about podcasting, but for readers and for authors listening, they're thinking about the promotional side of their book and what happens after they're done and it's all printed and all of your helpers go away and you're there with a finished copy of your book in your hand. Promotion ideas from your perspective. Being on a podcast is great. We get to meet you and hear your story. Anything else that you've tried from an author's point of view to help promote your book and get your message out into the world? Any suggestions for authors that are listening on how to promote their book?
Well, that's why I started doing the Joy Burst Monday, just on Facebook, just a little reel. I think it all depends on what your goal is if you're a writer, then people do blogs, but I'm more of a speaker. And so that's why I'm doing the podcast and doing the Facebook Lives, just to release a little bit of the message that I have. So you could, if they choose something to do with the topic that you speak about and do a couple of minutes live and release different messages into the world. Amazing. Kyllie, thank you so much. And the invitation to crash on your couch. I thank you for that. It's a long way from Canada to where you are, but I'll start walking now and see how far I get. It's so great to have you on the podcast. It'd be well worth the journey. Right? Yeah, and likewise, you got to come to Canada. I got this thing called Niagara Falls to show you. Yeah, I've got some friends that I met over the last 3 years in California who are from Canada. So it is on our bucket list. So we will be there at some stage. But thanks so much for having me, Dave, and letting me share about this message of unlimited joy. Amazing. Everyone needs more joy in their life. And the first step to that, go grab the book, Unlimited Joy from Kyllie Martin, and it'll open doors for you. And when you buy the book, as a reader, as a fellow author, as you buy this book, please leave an amazing review for Kyllie on wherever you buy your book. Let people know, let the world know how amazing this book is, and leave a detailed review.
so that people understand how great this book is. That's one way that we can all help each other as authors and readers. That's our responsibility. Kyllie wrote the book. We're going to support Kyllie and purchase it and share it as well. It's a great gift item. Gift it to somebody who needs more joy in their life, and just send it to them and tell them that you love them by giving Kyllie's book as a gift as well. Kyllie, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Glad to have you here. You are welcome back anytime. Just bring the joy, and we'll have you back anytime you want.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, well, thank you for being here on Living the Next Chapter. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We enjoyed having you here on the podcast. Our authors are amazing. I hope you appreciate their time, their effort to make this possible. If you know an author, if you want to recommend an author, that's a good idea. Hey, if there's an author that you really would love to hear about or hear from, if you tell me, if you send me a message, you speak pipe on our website, livingthenextchapter.com, send me an email, go over to livingthenextchapter.com, send us a message. We will forward your message to that author and say, listen, you are being requested to be on Living the Next Chapter. Our audience can't wait to hear from you. You can help shape the show. Yeah, you. You could do that right now, actually. You got a minute, right? Okay, how about you do that? livingthenextchapter.com. I'll see you over there. Recommend an author. Yeah. See ya. Thanks.